Thank you, Chairman Hoeven, and thank you for calling today's hearing. Before I begin, Senator Tina Smith has told me that she has constituents here. I understand there are close-up students with their teacher from Red Lake Indian Reservation near Red Lake, Minnesota. Welcome to all of you, and I know you'll find this an interesting hearing. Enhancing economic development opportunities in Indian country is critically important, whether it's access to financial capital or infrastructure, such as housing, water, and sewer systems, roads, and bridges. It's no secret that Native communities face ongoing and often unique challenges when it comes to growing business development opportunities. The agencies represented here today, DOI and USDA, Commerce and Treasury, all have programs aimed at easing these challenges for tribes and Native business owners. But having these programs on the books is not enough. Federal agencies must ensure that tribes are actually getting the resources they need and the technical assistance they deserve to use the programs effectively. In short, federal agencies must take an all-hands-on-deck approach to supporting economic development in Indian country so that economic development efforts are coordinated and complementary. A key factor to attracting and sustaining businesses in Indian country is marketing its healthy workforce as a way to support the next generation of Native American innovators. My bill, the Native American Business Incubators Program Act, promotes investor confidence while also filling a critical gap for Native entrepreneurs who not only need access to workspace and opportunities to build professional networks, but also access to community expertise, particularly as it applies to doing business on trust lands. This bill would complement existing federal programs to better support entrepreneurship in Indian country, so I'm hopeful it will become law of this Congress. Instead of supporting programs that target tribal economic growth, the President's budget for FY 2020 proposed drastic cuts or outright elimination of many of the successful initiatives that we will be discussing today, like the Indian Loan Guarantee Program. The Loan Guarantee Program has long been essential to the success of Native borrowers, including Picaris Pueblo, which used the program to build the Hotel Santa Fe, the Indian Pueblo Cultural Center, which, as Lieutenant Governor Thompson will describe, used the program to build a convenience store, a coffee shop, and a world-class museum that educates visitors about the history and culture of New Mexico's Pueblos. Since its inception, the program has distributed $1.6 billion across Indian country. In New Mexico specifically, it has helped spur tribal business enterprises worth tens of millions of dollars. Yet despite these and many other success stories, the President has proposed eliminating this loan guarantee program. I'm looking forward to hearing from today's witnesses, especially Mark Thompson, Lieutenant Governor of Acoma Pueblo and board member of the Indian Pueblo Cultural Center in Albuquerque, on this topic and more. Thank you, Lieutenant Governor, for joining us today. We'd also like to welcome Assistant Secretary Tara Sweeney to her first hearing since being confirmed as Indian country's lead advocate in the administration. I hope we'll be seeing more of you in the coming months. Welcome, Tara, and I hope you and the other folks here from the administration will offer some insights into how we can improve federal community development efforts in Indian country. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tara Sweeney, are there any other federal programs which allow tribal members and tribes to collateralize trust land? That's what the Indian Loan Guarantee Program does. My understanding is there aren't any. There aren't any.
I just would like to ask a question of Jack Stevens.
Yeah, Mr. Stevens, please, either. The Indian Loan Guarantee Program allows the collateralization.
David, would you like to address that?
Layers, I'm sorry. What we do is we take a deed of trust on the leasehold interest. So it's a leasehold deed of trust, and that's the way in which it is collateralized.
Yeah, and there's nothing else like that the federal government
I
does.
don't know of any other program that uses a similar process now.
Yeah, and see, for OMB to use the term duplication should not apply here in any way, because this is the program that works for the tribes. It works for individuals that are trying to do development. No other federal agencies that offer loans have the specialized knowledge about trust lands that the Department of Interior does. So I wouldn't keep repeating the word duplicative, because I don't think it's accurate here, and I think it's really unfair to the tribes and the people that have used this program. You're going to hear from Lieutenant Governor Thompson here, who I'm going to ask this question. The President's budget calls for eliminating. Do you agree with what I've just said here? I mean, is there some other program you could go to do that did all these other things?
Vice Chairman Udall, members of the committee, I agree with you 100%, and I was just chomping at the bit here to respond to some of that, so I appreciate the opportunity.
Go ahead, you got the chance. Go for it.
I think it's imperative for us to understand that the Bureau of Indian Affairs has local agencies that every tribe works with. And those agencies have developed capacity and capability over decades that understand the nuances of doing business on Indian land, to include leasehold mortgages and things of this nature regarding trust land and the legalities and the regulations. That capacity and capability is housed within the Bureau of Indian Affairs through those agencies and through programs like the BIA Loan Guarantee Program. Nobody else does that. You take that program and it helps you get that initial capital investment. Then you can turn around and leverage that to go to Department of Commerce or to go to USDA, and you use that as a each one of these programs help combine to get a project done. And so when you have the BIA Indian Affairs also approve leases and right-of-ways for development and economic development, so when a tribe can go to the Bureau of Indian Affairs or that agencies for a lease for a development, a road, a utility right-of-way, a gas line right-of-way, and also tell or ask for a loan guarantee, and then get that loan guarantee, and then go to the Department of Commerce or go to USDA to help complete this project, it's imperative that we understand that this program works, and there's no other place we can get that done. Thank you.
Yeah, and Lieutenant Governor Thompson, the President's FY 2020 budget calls for eliminating funding for the Indian Loan Guarantee Program. I understand that the Indian Pueblo Cultural Center has used this program to finance some of its projects. Can you please share with the committee how the program has enabled the center to successfully develop its businesses?
Thank you, Vice Chairman, members of the committee. The Indian Pueblo Culture Center has used this program to finance $23 million worth of development, to include one of the largest Starbucks in the state of New Mexico, to help fund the Native American Community Academy Charter School. And we talk about community development, economic development. Economic development is not only about business development, it's also about education, it's about housing, it's about all of that. Economic development has all of those aspects. Indian Pueblo Culture Center has used and has, through the BIA Loan Guarantee Program, financed $23 million worth of effort to help continue our development on the Indian School property right in Albuquerque.
Yeah, and you wouldn't have any place else to get the kinds of loans.
Vice Chairman, members of the committee, no, sir.
Yeah, and Tara Sweeney, can the gentleman that gave the answer, can we get his name for the record? They gave the previous answer. I was asking you the question, and then Mr. Stevens stood up, but I don't think he answered.
No, that was David Johnston.
David Johnston, okay,
Yes.
And he answered specifically the question about the collateralization.
Yes, there was I had asked Jack earlier about the statement that Lieutenant Governor Thompson had made regarding the difficulty to get loans and to collateralize loans with Indian country, and so I wanted some clarification because there was some miscommunication, so my apologies.
Yeah, Assistant Secretary Sweeney, one of the reasons for the Indian Loan Guarantee Program's popularity among tribal borrowers is its use of trust mortgages to secure financing. As you know, tribes are typically unable to use trust lands as collateral, which is what we've just talked about. In the USDA's testimony, we learned about that agency's pilot program for issuing mortgages on trust lands in North Dakota that will help Native home buyers. According to DOI's own Division of Capital Investment, which manages the Indian Loan Guarantee Program, the Indian Pueblo Cultural Center is a, quote, beacon of success. Lieutenant Governor Thompson just testified that loans secured through the program have financed more than $23 million in projects. Why would the President propose to eliminate a federal loan guarantee program that has proven so successful for tribal entities such as the Indian Pueblo Cultural Center? And do you have a plan to fill the void if the Indian Loan Guarantee Program is eliminated? Does DOI have comparable programs in place? Well, we know they don't on that. Yes.
Thank you, Senator. I do understand that this loan guarantee program is something that's supported strongly by you, strongly by members of this committee. The President's budget is the President's budget, and we support that. I want to stress that we perform services that facilitate economic development. As I stated earlier to Senator Murkowski, we perform functions within the Bureau of Indian Affairs like taking land into trust, like gaming, like doing environmental reviews that all facilitate economic development in areas like New Mexico. I am, with my private sector background, my business and management background, I have taken a look at the Office of Indian Energy and Economic Development. And I am focused on realigning their focus and function within that division to run models and do stress testing on our strategies so that we can craft a path forward for economic development in Indian country rather than spending considerable amounts of time reviewing loan applications. There's no dispute that this is a successful program, but that is not our core mission inside of Indian Affairs. There are other agencies whose core mission is to provide financial lending.
Yeah, well, as I think you've heard from the committee, we strongly support this, and so you're the top person, a Senate-approved person in the Department of Interior, and when the President comes up with a budget, we understand when he sends it up, you follow it, but internally, we believe your role is to advocate for the programs that are working out there in Indian country. There's a whole process where before the budget shows up here on the Hill in February, you, as you know, and the department tells the President what they want in the budget. Then there's a pass back and forth. And we expect you to be very outspoken internally about these programs that are working out in Indian country. Ms. Harris, Treasury's CDFI funds Native American CDFI assistance program is doing some great work in Indian country. There are 4 Native CDFIs in New Mexico that are providing capital to new and existing businesses and helping Native people become homeowners. But while the CDFI fund is an effective tool for economic growth in tribal communities, I understand that it is often oversubscribed. What is the current demand for the CDFI fund's Native American CDFI Assistance Program, financial assistance, and technical assistance awards? Does supply meet demand?
Thank you, Senator. Going off of last year's round, I can tell you that supply does not meet demand. We were oversubscribed by almost half. We received requests for $34 million in grant applications when we awarded just a little over $15 million. So it is definitely oversubscribed.
Yeah, and do you think that's the case every year, that there's significant oversubscription like that?
There is significant oversubscription in all of our programs, including the NACA program.
Yeah. CDI fund has a statutory requirement of 1-to-1 match for all financial assistance grants, which reportedly makes access to Native American CDFI assistance funds difficult for native CDFIs who can't raise private capital. And that's why Congress, as you know, waived this dollar-for-dollar requirement for CDFIs in every fiscal year but fiscal year 2014. That omission in fiscal year 14 led to significantly less capital going out to Indian country. Without a waiver, would native CDFIs be able to access the funding made available through the CDFI fund?
Without a waiver, as you mentioned, we would see a significant decline in the number of native CDFIs that would have the capacity to access the funds.
Yeah, and that is a very, very important point here, and we've seen it in that fiscal year 14 where that happened, and it had a dramatic impact. Do you agree that the impacts would be devastating to Native communities where access to capital is already a significant challenge?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, thank you. Now, Assistant Secretary Sweeney, Chaco Canyon is a critically important area for tribes in the Southwest, but it is also home to a very active oil and gas development gas and development activities. Late last year, Pueblo leaders met with Associate Deputy Secretary Jim Kaysen and Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary John Tasuda to discuss ways tribes and the administration can work together to protect the Chaco Canyon area. In that meeting, Mr. Kaysen invited the tribes to submit a proposal for an ethnographic study of the region in order to incorporate Pueblo religious leaders' knowledge of significant sites to guide responsible oil and gas development. The Pueblos agreed and submitted their proposal in October 2018, and for the record, that's a very significant development for Pueblo leaders to be willing to share this knowledge of sacred sites, as you probably know well. My understanding is that there have been meetings between interior officials and Pueblos to discuss the parameters of the study, but there are some key sticking points, like the one area it would cover outside the current 10-mile buffer zone. Can you please provide me with an update on the progress being made to accommodate the Pueblo's request to cover a wide area of the Chaco region? So we're talking greater Chaco now.
Understood. Thank you. As you noted, there have been several meetings with the Pueblo governors. They were asked to submit a proposal. That proposal was submitted, and at this time, it is my understanding that BLM and Indian Affairs are currently reviewing those proposals.
And are you personally involved in these discussions?
I'm personally involved in the internal deliberations, yes.
Okay. As the highest ranking tribal official in the administration, I'd like you personally to stay on top of this. It's important the Pueblos have a voice within the administration.